The Silent Strike: How One It director brought down a $7 million fraud ring. The morning I walked into that sterile conference room and saw HR Director Melissa already seated, I knew my 22-year career at Meridian Financial was about to end. "Theodore, we're restructuring the department," my supervisor Brandon announced coldly. "Your role is being eliminated. Please have your workspace cleared by 5 p.m. My name is Theodore Ted Blackwood." At 57, I'd spent over 2 decades building Meridian's entire IT infrastructure from the ground up. I'd survived 6 different CEOs, trained dozens of junior programmers, and worked through every holiday without complaint. I was the living memory of every system quirk, every custom solution, every critical workaround that kept this company running. But apparently none of that mattered anymore. "I understand completely," I replied calmly, then walked out without another word. Back at my desk, I methodically packed my belongings while younger colleagues avoided eye contact. Most of these developers owed their careers to my mentorship, but they had no idea how deeply embedded I was in every system they touched daily. If you enjoy stories about workplace betrayal and calculated revenge, like this video and subscribe to my channel right now. Every day brings completely new stories, each one more intense than the last. My friend Angela from payroll approached, clearly distressed. "Ted, this is absolutely insane. You are the IT department here." "Companies evolve," I shrugged, placing my Boston Red Sox mug into a cardboard box. What none of them realized was that over the years, I'd become the most crucial person in that building. Not through ambition, but through meticulous documentation and foresight. I'd built comprehensive audit trails and maintained encrypted backups, originally at legal's request during a compliance review years ago. As I carried my box to the parking garage, Brandon watched from his office window. No farewell, no gratitude, just cold surveillance. Sitting in my car, I looked up at the 20-story building where I'd spent most of my adult working life. My security badge had been renewed 21 times. They had no idea what was coming next Tuesday. I'd joined Meridian when it occupied just 3 floors of a downtown Boston office building. My daughter Sarah was in kindergarten then. Now she's a practicing veterinarian. The company expanded while I grew with it, turning down lucrative offers from competitors because loyalty meant something to me. I understood every system, every integration, every custom solution that management had implemented and abandoned over the years. The infrastructure I'd designed had survived through 8 acquisitions and countless digital transformation initiatives. Brandon became my supervisor 5 years ago, another MBA with buzzwords about optimization and synergy. He treated employees like spreadsheet entries rather than people with families and mortgages. Initially, I tried explaining our system's complexity to him, showing him why certain processes existed. "We need to modernize everything," he'd declared, dismissing decades of institutional knowledge with a wave. 8 months ago, he brought in consultant Zachary Reynolds, expensive suits, confident handshakes, and Stanford credentials prominently displayed on LinkedIn. They'd whisper in closed meetings whenever I passed by. 4 months ago, my system permissions began changing subtly. Nothing dramatic, just gradual restrictions on administrative access. Instead of protesting, I observed and documented everything. "You seem preoccupied lately," my wife Helen mentioned over dinner. "Everything okay at work?" I nodded, cutting my steak. Just some organizational changes happening. But these changes felt different. Meeting invitations stopped arriving. Emails about infrastructure updates excluded me. Projects I'd normally oversee were reassigned to junior staff. Then I discovered the memo, a company-wide restructuring plan that was never shared with me. It outlined complete IT department reorganization under new leadership, Zachary Reynolds. My position didn't exist on the new organizational chart. That same week, while running routine security audits, I noticed irregular patterns in our accounting software, monthly payments to an unfamiliar vendor called TechFlow Solutions. A quick investigation revealed it was registered recently with a generic address leading to a mail forwarding service. The payments started small but had grown substantially each month. I didn't raise alarms, just noted everything, copied the records, and continued monitoring. Sometimes the person everyone overlooks sees everything precisely because they're invisible. The day after my termination, I sat in my home office staring at my personal laptop. No alarm clock, no commute, just silence and the weight of betrayal. Helen brought coffee without speaking. After 26 years of marriage, she understood when I needed space to process. After she left for her book club, I unlocked my secure filing cabinet and retrieved one of several encrypted drives I maintained. Company policy prohibited data removal, but years earlier, when legal required audit capabilities for compliance, I documented the necessity of secure off-site backups. I connected the drive and began reviewing files, internal correspondence, financial records, meeting minutes from sessions I was gradually excluded from. There it was, Complete payment history to TechFlow Solutions, $3.1 million over 18 months. Every transaction bore CFO Patricia Henderson's digital signature. I investigated deeper, cross-referencing dates and amounts until patterns emerged. The payments perfectly matched legitimate software licensing renewals, but with markups ranging from 25% to 35%, small enough to avoid scrutiny, large enough to accumulate substantially. Business registration records showed TechFlow's owner as Jeremy Henderson, Patricia's son, fresh out of business school. They were systematically siphoning company funds through inflated invoicing on genuine services. I leaned back, feeling something shift inside me. Not rage exactly, something colder and more calculated. But what Ted discovered next would change everything. Stay tuned to see how this quiet IT director turned the tables completely. For 22 years, I'd solved problems, protected data, maintained systems. I'd been the reliable constant while everything else changed around me. And they'd discarded me like obsolete hardware. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, a systems administrator I'd mentored. Sorry about yesterday. Complete BS. Reynolds already claimed your office and parking space. I set the phone aside without responding. The pieces were falling into place. They needed me gone before anyone connected these financial irregularities to their scheme. I opened my email client and started drafting a message to the board of directors, then stopped. Too direct, too easily dismissed as sour grapes from a terminated employee. I needed precision, leverage, irrefutable evidence that couldn't be buried or explained away. I deleted the draft and began strategizing. Wednesday was board meeting day, quarterly reviews, bonus approvals, strategic planning. Perfect timing. I closed the laptop and walked to our front window, looking out at the neighborhood where Helen and I had raised Sarah. For the first time since Monday, I smiled slightly. Parked across from Meridian headquarters, I watched employees streaming through the glass lobby. On my passenger seat sat my laptop logged into a secure email account I'd established years ago for system testing, an account that appeared legitimate but wasn't tracked in company directories. At exactly 9:30 a.m., I sent Brandon an email with the subject line, "Critical financial discrepancies requiring immediate attention along with preliminary findings about TechFlow payments." I included sufficient detail to establish credibility without revealing the family connection yet. If Brandon was complicit, he'd panic. If innocent, he'd investigate. Either way, I'd learned something valuable. By 9:55, my phone rang, Brandon's number. I declined the call. His voicemail was tense. "Ted, we need to discuss your message immediately. Call me back now." I didn't respond. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop and waited. At 10:45, an email arrived from Melissa in HR. "Mr. Blackwood, we've received concerning communications that may violate your separation terms. Please cease all contact with Meridian personnel and remember your confidentiality obligations. Further violations may result in legal action." Classic corporate intimidation. Threaten, discredit, isolate. I hadn't signed any separation agreement. At lunch, I visited my bank's safe deposit box, retrieving older backup drives with comprehensive security documentation, including detailed logs of who accessed what systems and when modifications occurred. These records showed Patricia Henderson had requested expanded financial approval access 18 months earlier, precisely when TechFlow payments began. Share this story with anyone who's ever been betrayed at work. By afternoon, 3 missed calls awaited: Brandon, Melissa, and now Zachary Reynolds. The consultant's involvement this quickly was telling. I found an urgent email from Marcus. "Ted, they're claiming you sent some insane message about financial fraud." Reynolds called an emergency meeting. "Everyone's talking. They've locked down your old access credentials, including systems we need for daily operations." "What's happening?" Poor kid caught in the crossfire. I replied briefly, "Stay out of it, Marcus. Just observe." At 3 p.m., my home phone rang. "Theodore, this is Patricia Henderson." Her voice was carefully controlled. "We should discuss your concerns. I believe there's been a misunderstanding about certain vendor relationships." "Is that what we're calling it?" I asked. Career transitions can be stressful. If you have questions about financial procedures, there are appropriate channels. Like the board of directors? Sharp intake of breath. "You're making a serious error in judgment," she said finally. "We can resolve this amicably. Enhanced severance, excellent references, whatever you need." "Goodbye, Patricia," I said, hanging up. Within 15 minutes, Melissa emailed again. My severance package had mysteriously tripled, with attached agreements requiring absolute confidentiality about all company matters. They were scrambling, but still thought they were dealing with simple extortion. They had no idea what was actually coming. Thursday morning brought clarity and confirmation. I'd spent the night examining years of archived data, connecting patterns I'd previously overlooked. TechFlow wasn't Patricia's first creative venture. 3 years earlier, another pattern had emerged: consulting fees to strategic business partners. Different name, identical methodology. Inflated bills for services partially delivered or fabricated entirely. Strategic Business Partners was registered to Patricia's sister in Phoenix, apparently CEO of a company with no website, no employees, and a virtual mailbox address. The deeper revelation came through email archives. Brandon wasn't merely aware of these arrangements, he'd actively facilitated them. In exchange, his budget requests got approved while other departments faced cuts. His predecessor had been restructured out after questioning unusual expenditures. Even Zachary Reynolds was part of the web. His consulting firm was hired through irregular procurement, bypassing standard vendor evaluation processes. His real purpose wasn't modernizing IT, but removing someone who might notice financial patterns. The scheme's elegant simplicity was almost admirable. Create legitimate-sounding vendors, approve inflated payments, pocket the difference. Services were actually provided, just at premium prices. Auditors scanning for completely fraudulent charges would miss this sophisticated approach. Over 3 years, they'd diverted approximately $6.4 million. I compiled everything into a comprehensive report. Spreadsheets showing payment escalation, business registrations linking shell companies to Patricia's family, email exchanges demonstrating Brandon's knowledge and participation, system access logs proving the timeline. What Ted did next was unexpected and brilliant. Continue watching to see his masterstroke. Then I made an unexpected move. I contacted board member Margaret Foster, someone I'd worked with during a major security implementation. Now semi-retired but still active in quarterly meetings. "Theodore Blackwood," she answered warmly. "Heard you left Meridian after all these years." "Not voluntarily," I replied. "Margaret, I need 20 minutes of your time. It's extremely important." Pause. This related to why Patricia and Brandon looked nervous in yesterday's pre-meeting huddle. She chuckled softly. "Always suspected you knew where all the skeletons were buried. Where should we meet? Comment below. Have you ever exposed workplace corruption? Share your story." 2 hours later, we sat on a bench in Boston Common. I handed her a sealed envelope containing my printed summary and an encrypted flash drive. "That's everything," I said. "Dates, amounts, family relationships, system access patterns. I don't want my job back. I don't want money. I want the right people to know the truth." Margaret studied me carefully. "Why bring this to me specifically?" "Because you actually read audit reports. I've watched you in meetings. You ask the hard questions everyone else avoids." She nodded slowly. "Tomorrow's an emergency board session. Financial committee review. Interesting timing, Theodore. I believe in preparation." When I returned to my car, Helen had texted, "Someone named Zachary Reynolds stopped by looking for you. Said it was urgent business. Told him you weren't available. They're really pushing hard." That afternoon brought job offers from 2 competing firms, both for senior positions with substantial salary increases and signing bonuses. Word was spreading about my sudden availability in Boston's tight-knit IT community. I ignored them. The issue wasn't finding new employment, but completing what they'd started. That evening, using credentials that should have been revoked but were carelessly maintained by Reynolds, I accessed the company email system one final time, scheduling a message to all board members for 8 a.m. Friday. "Before approving Q4 executive bonuses, please review the attached documentation." My complete report. Friday morning. Checkmate. I sat on our back patio with morning coffee, watching our neighborhood come alive. No alarm clock, no commute, just anticipation. At exactly 8 a.m., my scheduled email delivered its payload to every board member. At 8:22, my phone began ringing continuously. Unfamiliar numbers, probably assistants as board members tried reaching me. I sent them all to voicemail. Keep watching to see the dramatic fallout from Ted's master plan. At 9 a.m., the Emergency Finance Committee meeting convened. Margaret Foster would be there, armed with my documentation, watching reactions as my email was discovered and discussed. At 9:38, Marcus texted, "FBI agents just arrived. Patricia and Brandon are in separate conference rooms being questioned. Reynolds looks like he's about to pass out." "What did you do?" I didn't reply. Everything was proceeding exactly as anticipated. By 10:15, Meridian's head legal counsel called. "Unlike the others," I answered. "Mr. Blackwood, this is Jennifer Walsh from legal. We need you here immediately to discuss the information you provided." "We can discuss it by phone," I replied calmly. "This really requires an in-person meeting." "No, it doesn't," I interrupted. "Everything I know is in that report. Everything I have is secured at multiple locations. If anything happens to me or my family, additional copies automatically go to the Justice Department, SEC, and Boston Globe." Long silence. "Mr. Blackwood," she continued carefully, "the board is taking this matter very seriously. Several executives have been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Your cooperation would be appreciated. I've cooperated completely by providing comprehensive documentation. My involvement is finished. After she hung up, I drove to a restaurant 40 miles outside Boston. No reason to be easily located today. During lunch, local business news began breaking. Meridian Financial executives under federal investigation for financial irregularities. No names yet, but that would come. At 2:30 p.m., Margaret Foster called. "It's complete chaos," she said without preamble. Patricia broke down and confessed after we confronted her with your evidence. She's trying to negotiate a plea deal, claiming Brandon pressured her. Brandon's denying everything, and Reynolds insists he was just a consultant with no knowledge of financial improprieties. The board isn't buying any of it. The numbers? Forensic accountants start Monday. Preliminary estimates suggest at least $7.2 million diverted over 3 years. Possibly more. I'd been close in my calculations. The board wants to meet with you, Margaret continued. Not about returning to your old position. They're creating a new executive role reporting directly to the board. Chief Information Security Officer. I'd anticipated this possibility, but was still surprised by the reality. I'll consider it, I said. Subscribe and hit the bell for more stories of workplace justice. That evening, I told Helen everything. She listened without interruption, then asked simply, "What do you want to do now?" Excellent question. The revenge portion was complete. The people who'd betrayed me were facing criminal charges and career destruction. Justice had been served precisely and effectively. But returning to Meridian meant working at the place that had discarded me after 22 years of loyalty. I need time to decide, I finally said. That night, I updated my dormant LinkedIn profile with a single post. Loyalty should be mutual. When it's not, consequences follow naturally. Within hours, former colleagues were reaching out. News was spreading through Boston's financial district. The quiet it guy had systematically destroyed 3 executives without raising his voice. By Monday, everyone would understand exactly who they'd underestimated. Monday morning found me entering Meridian headquarters wearing my best suit. The security guard looked twice before quickly printing a visitor badge. "Welcome back, Mr. Blackwood," he said with newfound respect. The elevator to the executive floor felt strange. I'd never had reason to visit this level before. 10 board members sat around the mahogany conference table. Margaret Foster nodded slightly as I entered. The interim CEO, formerly COO, appeared uncomfortable. "Mr. Blackwood," she began, "thank you for coming. The situation you exposed is unprecedented in company history." I remained silent. Full investigation reveals the fraud totaled $7.4 million over 3 years. Criminal charges are being filed. I waited. Margaret cleared her throat. "Theodore, the board has unanimously approved creating a new executive position, Chief Information Security Officer with full authority, reporting directly to this board. We'd like to offer you the role." I placed a folder on the table. "My conditions," I said simply. "Non-negotiable." The interim CEO opened it, scanning quickly. Her eyebrows raised. "Complete audit authority across all departments. Independent budget. Veto power over technology and financial decisions above $50,000. I nodded once. "This level of authority is unusual," she said. "Embezzling $7.4 million is unusual," I replied. "That happened because nobody was watching properly. Now someone will be." Silence filled the room. "You have until noon," I said, standing. "I have other opportunities." As I reached the door, Margaret asked, "Did you plan this from the beginning, Theodore?" I paused. I didn't plan on being betrayed after 22 years. Everything afterward was just me applying my skills to identify system vulnerabilities and implement appropriate security measures. At 11:52, they called. Every condition accepted. 6 months later, the new normal. I sit in my corner office on the 24th floor reviewing security protocols for next quarter. The view overlooks Boston Harbor, a daily reminder of how dramatically things can change. Patricia Henderson pled guilty to multiple fraud counts in exchange for cooperation. She received a reduced but still substantial sentence. Brandon is fighting all charges despite overwhelming evidence. Zachary Reynolds was extradited from Canada where he'd fled. The stolen funds were largely recovered, preventing serious financial damage to the company. My old team now reports to me, though I promoted Marcus to handle daily operations. The kid has real potential, just needed someone to recognize it. There's a knock on my door. Helen stands there smiling. "Ready for lunch?" she asks. I grab my jacket. As we pass the IT department, conversations pause momentarily, not from fear but from respect. These people understand what happened, know I could have destroyed the company instead of saving it. In the elevator, Helen squeezes my hand. "Content?" I considered the question. The anger that drove me initially has faded completely. What remains is the satisfaction of completion, of justice properly served. I'm good, I say. Outside, autumn sunshine warms our faces as we walk to our favorite restaurant. My phone buzzes with the message from Margaret Foster. Board approved your security budget increase. Unanimous vote, no questions asked. I smile. No arguments, no justifications required, just complete trust. Helen notices my expression. What? Nothing important, I say, pocketing the phone. Just thinking about bridges. Some collapse under their own weight. Others become stronger after proper reconstruction. Sarah, now 28 and running her own veterinary practice, visits regularly. Last month she spoke to our summer interns about integrity in business. My father taught me that respect is earned through actions, not words, she told them. When someone betrays that respect, you don't seek revenge, you seek justice through truth. After her presentation, one intern asked me, "Mr. Blackwood, weren't you scared when you decided to expose everything?" Terrified, I admitted honestly. But I realized there were things more important than fear. My daughter's respect, my wife's trust, and my ability to face myself in the mirror every morning. Yesterday, Margaret Foster stopped by my office. "Theodore, you know what impressed me most about this entire situation?" "What's that? You didn't just get revenge on people who wronged you. You ensured it could never happen again to anyone else." She was absolutely right. The systems we've implemented, the culture we've built, the message we've sent, Meridian Financial is now one of the most secure places in Boston to work honestly. But late at night, alone with my thoughts, I remember Brandon's face when he realized his outdated employee had systematically destroyed him. I think about Patricia's tears when she lost everything. I remember Reynolds being led away in handcuffs. And I smile. Not from cruelty, but because justice tastes infinitely better than revenge. To anyone listening to this story, remember that sometimes betrayal gives you the greatest gift, the opportunity to show the world exactly who you really are when everything is on the line. They thought they were solving a problem by removing me. Instead, they created their worst nightmare. An honest person with nothing left to lose and the skills to expose their corruption completely. Keep fighting for integrity. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. Remember, loyalty can be repaid, but betrayal always comes with consequences. Stay strong, stay honest, and never underestimate the quiet person in the corner who seems to be just observing. Because sometimes they're not just watching, they're planning. Thanks for reading. Hit subscribe to check out more stories of workplace justice on my channel. Like this video if you believe in accountability, and share it with anyone who's ever been betrayed at work. Comment below with your own stories of workplace karma. I read every single one. What goes around comes around. Justice may be delayed, but it's never denied. Subscribe now for more true stories of workplace justice and corporate accountability. If you enjoyed this story of calculated revenge and justice, please like this video and leave a comment telling me what you thought. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to get alerts for new stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.